Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Going to do a little bit of turning today. New pin kit, pin that some pins I picked up here a while back from for Christmas presents. Going to be turning a couple of the new skull style pins that are out by Penn State. I think I know that's where I've got them. I think they're PSIs. But going to turn a couple of the skull pins. Already made one. Came out looking real good. Pretty straightforward pin kit. Per the instructions, you want to set up your tubes. Cut your tubes to the proper length plus about a 1/16 of an inch. I typically, when I'm doing tubes, typically what I'll do is set them up close to an end. But as you can see on this blank, my swirls are just about dead center. So you've got two different length tubes. You've got a lower tube and an upper tube. The shorter one's the upper tube, the longer tube's the lower tube. Nope. Lower tube is the longer one, the upper tube's the shorter one, sorry. Two tubes. Longer tube is the lower tube closest to the nib, and then the upper tube is the shorter tube closer to the clip. So I want to set this up on my blank so that I can get more of the design in there. This is the Lava Bright orange with black swirl blank. So I'm just kind of trying to set it up and look and see how I want to do it to get the most color in the blank, the most swirl effect and the most color change. I think what I'm going to do is just come in and cut it first in half right about there. And typically I don't cut a blank in half first. I typically will work from one end to the other, so I've got larger pieces that I'm not going to use, but I want to make this one look really good. Okay. I went ahead and marked where I want to cut this and how I want it to go, and marked my my waist side. So I'm going to flip around back to the bandsaw and cut the blank so I can drill it. So just flip this right around over onto the bandsaw, onto the bandsaw. I think you can see. And there's my blanks. There's my two blanks for my tubes. There's the lower tube, and there's the upper tube. They'll go on there. Well, I don't have my drill press, or don't have a drill press. I've got my Shopsmith. It's a you got the horizontal boring, lathe, all of the and I'm gonna drill this a little different than normal. I'm gonna go ahead and put the drill bit in my drill chuck that fits into the taper spindle, or into the tailstock, and then feed my blank into it. by drilling halfway through or most of the way through and then turning it around and drilling the other direction, I eliminate, or all but eliminate, blowout on the blanks. So, off to the other one. Well, I decided since I was going to go ahead and do two pins, I decided go ahead. Why don't I just drill all of them at the same time? So I'm just going to go ahead and drill the other one real quick and be done with it. So. Remember, whenever you're using a Morse drill chuck in your Morse taper, the only thing that's holding it in there is a taper, and that taper can very easily twist. So when you see me drilling, I always hold that so that this doesn't drift or catch. Or more importantly, when you go to withdraw your wood, so that it doesn't come out, because if it comes out, you've got all that weight, and yeah, that'd be really ugly. So just a reminder, be safe when you're using that. So I've got all four of my blanks drilled. Now I'm gonna super glue them up real quick. Use cyanoacrylate glue. I've had people down here working in my shop using my glue. Okay, so remember, we've got a short tube and a long tube, a short blank and a long blank. I've already scuffed up the tubes. Be real generous with your glue. I always start it in one end, then go in from the other end. That way it carries all the way through, and I end up with a real good glue joint. If you don't have a tube inserting tool, if you use the tip of your super glue, you can use that too. I'm going to hit them with a little bit of activator. I like to try to do that away from my glue, so I don't set up my glue. Okay, now to use a barrel trimmer and trim out to trim the barrels to length. Set back up on my on the shop smith. Put the barrel trimmer in there. I'm just going to do it this way. I want to trim it down to where it just touches the tube. I don't want to trim much of that tube off. If I trim very much of that tube off, the mechanics won't work. Got it set up between centers, got it on my mandrel, or got it set up on my mandrels with the bushings in place. Double check my height and distance and everything on my rest. So I'm gonna zip it up pretty quick. Okay, turning's done. Now it's just time for sanding. I'm going to run through my grits of Abernet real quick. Turn the speed down. Sand real light, circular motion. I could have probably started a little finer than that 120, but 120, 180. Like I said, just little circular motions. Then come in. Sand what would be with the grain if it were wood. Quickly. Then on to next grit. 240. Then 320. And it looks like I'm speeding up my sanding because I'm not spending much time on each grit, but as you can see, I'll go ahead and keep talking all the way through this one. This is about all I'm doing on each grit, just enough to keep it going and then move on. That was 320. Here's 400. 400 right up and down. There's twice. There's 3 times. And then with the grain again. I'm spending probably more time at each, or totally sanding, than I did on all of my finishing, but I'm not spending that much time on each grit. I'm going to come in and what did I do? How did I do this? I screwed myself up. No, I didn't. There's 180. Now I'm starting with 220 regular sandpaper. I backed down from the Abernet. There again, just circles down on both of them, and then real quick up and down to eliminate any of the ridges that I might be starting to build. There was 220. Here's 320. Whoops, 320. I forgot to go up and down the length. Trying to see a grid on there. That says 600. Did I skip one? 320, 600. Apparently I've lost one of my pieces of sandpaper, but that's okay. Real quick, I'm going to go from the 600 and I'm going to go to the 800, and I'm not going to go up and down the length on that one. Do it real quick with the 800. Then onto micro mesh. Same thing. The micro mesh is what? 15, 18, 24, 32, 1500, 1800, 2400, 3200, 3600, 4000, 6000, 8000, and 12,000. So real quick, circles, light pressure. Don't want to put tons of pressure on, don't need to. I spend almost as much time sanding, going through all the grits, as I do turning. Grab a rag real quick and dust it. I'll probably do that about every second or third grit. I may do it between every grit. If you notice at every grit, it starts getting a little shinier and a little shinier. I'm putting a finer and finer and finer scratch pattern on here. I haven't put any type of polish or any type of shine on here. This is all just going from grit to grit. This micro mesh is the one that I picked up from Rockler. I'm sure more places carry it than just Rockler. It's the ones that are like a sponge center with the micro mesh on each side. Haven't used them a whole lot, but I like them real well. Don't want to put lots of pressure on, because if I put lots of pressure on, I run the risk of melting the acrylic, melting the plastic, or melting the micro mesh. Then you've got to go back several grits and get rid of it. You might even have to go all the way back to the beginning. Every time I go to the next grit, it gets a little smoother, a little shinier. And then up to my last 12,000 grit. No, not 12,000, 120,000. No, 12,000. It's going to be real pretty. That's going to be real pretty. Then the last thing I'm going to do here is I've got a buffing system here. I think it's from Arizona Silhouette, not sure where it's from. It's got the blue buffing rouge. And the last thing I do is hit it with this real soft, fluffy flannel. And it ended up just making that pop. There again, that rouge is not anything more than an abrasive product. It's removing more material, making it smoother and smoother, and the smoother it gets, the shinier it gets. So there's this one. Per the instructions, I've set up the pin in order: the tip, then the nut, then the lower barrel, the coupler, the mechanism, the band, the upper barrel or upper tube, and then the clip, the cap, and the cap nut. So I've set it all up the way it says, and then I'm going to go in the assembly. It says layout parts according to diagram A, and here's diagram A. Just kind of how to get what where. So I'm gonna move the camera a little bit so I can work and maybe y'all can see. Whoops. Please ignore my messy shop. So they say first place the tip nut with the recessed end, and there's a little step on it, into the lower tube first. So I'm going to get it started in there, and the way I put things together is I use a bar clamp, and I'll set it on here, slide it up, and then slowly just tighten the nut, or the screw part of the clamp. Then it says press the coupler into the recess, into the opposite the lower barrel, the opposite end of the lower barrel. They also suggest that you take a piece of wood, and drill an 8mm hole in it so it sits over it and you don't booger up the threads. So I've done that. I'm going to take that, set it in my makeshift pin press, and press it in. Screw the twist mechanism onto the barrel, or onto the coupler, and then press the band into either end of the upper barrel, whichever way you want it to kind of come together and be together. So put that in there, press the band in to the upper barrel. They want you to put the clip on the top nut, then put the head, screw the skull on, and according to the picture, you want the clip to line up with the face of the skull. Tighten that nut down, and then you want that clip to line up with the fingers, or the fingers on the band. So it goes in there like that. I could probably use a squeeze clamp, and on the next one I may try to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and take that one out right now, a regular bar type clamp. And see if that works a little better in my hands. I don't know that it will. Let's see how that works. Get everything lined up. Well, that's easier on my hands. Need to scoot it down just a little further. Squeeze it together. Then slide the whoops. I'm going to take my mechanics off. I'm going to screw my tip on. I'm going to put my insert in. Don't lose that little spring. You won't like it. And then I'm going to slide the pin together. That came out really nice. Came out really pretty. Let me zoom in on that and give you a good peek at it. Here's the first one I did that I didn't show any of the process of. It's the one that's in copper, and it's got a brown and copper plastic on it. And then the white one, or the this is the what do they call that one? Pewter. These are a real heavy pen. Real heavy pen. They are the three pins, the three skull pins from Penn State. The pewter, the antique brass, and the antique copper.